Hi, AFE. My name is Kate Hayes. I'm a PhD candidate at the University of Colorado, Denver, and I'm going to be talking to you really briefly today about some work I've been doing in interior Alaska. So interior Alaska is experiencing an increase in the frequency of fires, similar to what's happening in a lot of western states. And that increase in frequency of fires is leading to an increase in what we call reburning. So places that burn and then burn again in short intervals of 30 to 50 years. Reburning has been shown to lead from a conversion from conifer-dominated stands to deciduous-dominated stands. So black spruce, which is the dominant species in this system, doesn't regenerate in time within that 30 to 50-year window, and instead you see an increase in deciduous recruitment of things like birch and aspen and willow. The key here is that deciduous stands in Alaska have been considered less flammable. So they typically don't burn as often as conifer-dominated stands. And in fact, they've been used really frequently and intentionally as fuel breaks by a lot of fire management. However, an increase in climatic extremes has meant that in recent fire seasons, we're seeing a lot of deciduous stands that do actually burn. Suggesting we can no longer rely on that feedback or that legacy condition of deciduous species. So one key step in understanding that new trend is identifying how the fuel of these landscapes or the fuelscapes in these reburns is actually shifting, which is what I'm going to talk about today. So I quantified fuel composition, fuel density, connectivity and abundance in reburn deciduous stands in places that typically, or places that were mature black spruce forests before reburning and have since transitioned. You'll see if we start over on the left that tree composition does in fact shift from conifer to deciduous depending on whether the stand has experienced 1, 2, or 3 fires. There's an overall decline in tree density, so these stands are much more open than they were in the past or prior to reburning. Fine fuels become slightly more abundant and more connected after 2 fires, but then burn off again after 3. But fuel abundance of coarse woody debris and other fuel classes typically increases with fire. So you see an initial increase in 1,000-hour fuels, particularly from logs and other things that have fallen. They burn off a little bit after 2, and then you see new inputs after 3. So under this, within these plots, we're starting to see that fuels are less dense but more deciduous. They are a little bit less connected after multiple reburns, but they are typically more abundant. And so with that, this is a really interesting result. The fuels are actually changing in these deciduous-dominated landscapes, particularly compared to conifer-dominated ones. And so I will end with a quick plug. A lot of this is done in collaboration with modelers at Colorado State University. My collaborators, Chad Hoffman and Justin Ziegler. And so if you stay tuned, we'll be doing a lot of work in the future looking at how these places will actually burn in fire behavior models. So thank you for your time. I hope you have a great conference. Thanks.